Good
Morning.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are
Good
you today?
morning.
I'm here on the porch with my two best friends in the world, Mr. Marvin Harrell and Craig Aarons.
Yeah,
What's up?
good
What's
morning.
up?
You got to excuse me. I've been watching Martin Lawrence. He has an older sitcom on TV called Martin, right? He does all
Oh
Oh
this.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I just love watching this guy. He's so hilarious.
Don't you know no good? He's
Yeah, and he
crazy.
plays all these different characters, right?
Yeah.
I just love it. Shanae.
It was all kinds.
That's
What
an older.
about
That's an older show.
what about the brother from the fifth flow? He would
Oh,
he would hold up four fingers, but he's from the fifth flow.
and he's the brother man
Yeah,
from the
brother man from the fifth flow.
fifth flow. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. He'd be like, he goes, Martin be like, "Will you eat my sandwich?" This your sandwich, Martin. It's like he was funny, man. He was
He
good.
was, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of shows and whatnot, our good buddy here, Mr. Craig Aarons, has got a film coming up, a feature film called Henry. It will be
Henry.
in the major theaters coming out. I'm so happy for him, and he's got a nice little role. He plays Uncle Robert. Uncle Robert, we call him Bob. Uncle Bob. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, man.
Well, it starts shooting next set. Whenever I say, I keep wanting to say Uncle Buck, but right, Uncle Buck. But yeah, it starts shooting next Saturday, and it's a 20 some odd day shoot. I'll be maybe 7 days of that. But yeah, it starts shooting next Saturday. And Mr. Espinosa has been my coach through all of this, instrumental in getting me the role.
He's just trying to
So
blame me in case he blows it. That's
no,
all that is, folks.
that's not the case. So David was the key part behind the scenes. But yeah, it starts shooting next Saturday. So, and the plan is it will come out in theater sometime next year. So, and
Nice.
the film is Henry. It's a true story. So yeah, there you
You're
go.
frozen a little bit there, but we could still hear you.
Oh,
There you go. Now your
sorry
jaw's
about
closed
that.
too. It's cool. It really worked out well. You went from
Yeah,
No, you know what I think it is? I think it's our individual signal because
yeah.
you guys every few about every minute you guys fade out and then come back. Fade
Oh,
out and come back.
that.
So
You might be right. I think you're right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, as you
Yeah.
can tell, folks, we don't know what we're doing. That's why we meet on the porch. You see, it's not a porch. So that'll give you a clue.
It's retirement
Hey,
homes.
so let me ask you something. When the last few days of or every time I saw Biden, I never thought he was a robot. But now that I get all this new information and I see that he is a robot, I found out recently our beloved president gave us this information. And now that we know that Biden was a robot and all the good things that he did when he was president and how he got the economy going and all the good things he did are null because he was a freaking robot. And I'm appalled. I'm appalled. We were ruled by a robot for freaking 4 years almost.
I am sorry to tell you, I too am a robot.
Okay, so turn yourself off. I'll talk to Craig. Hey, so Craig.
Well,
Hey,
yeah.
you know what? They have a one of those things they can't self-destruct, right? Just like we're programmed not to hurt ourselves, right?
Right. Hey, how dumb is that though? He's a robot.
Isn't it
Oh my
crazy?
God. Him being, I'm like, okay, this dude, he's smoking, he's doing something. I know he's doing something, or he just freaking nuts.
Well, I think he's crazy. He's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
There's nothing normal coming out of the White House these days.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. It's weird.
It's like a nut house. It's, you know, every day it's a new scandal. Every day it's some other crazy ass stuff. And talking about the former president and this Caroline Leavitt, she's gonna come out and say, well, you know, we have evidence, but we're not going to tell you what it is now. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. Well, you just imagine, like, to your point, Marvin, the thinking, well, I'm probably being a little bit too generous, but the thinking that goes behind somebody saying the former president of the United States is a robot, and putting that out there. But it's no crazier than they're eating the cats and dogs, and, you know, and it's like, all right, you know.
Well, what's that? None of that to me is as crazy as all those people who believe that shit. That's what's crazy to me. I'm like, okay, I'm into comedy. I love comedy, and I've heard all kind of crazy stuff. I mean, come on, we grew up with Richard Pryor and Red Fox, and I mean, we heard some wild, crazy shit, right? And other comedians, white as well. That's all good.
Yeah.
But you know what it is what it is. And you ever walked away going, yeah, that's the truth.
well, you know, when you said that about the people that follow him, right? I immediately it came into my head, and it came into my head a crazy mountain, a mountain of fucking crazy people, right? And he's at the top. He's at the very top, and it's like below him are his press secretary, his defense secretary. It's a mountain of crazies, man.
Right.
And then on top, under that is the base of crazy. It's like, you know, the foundation. You build a house, and you got your subfloor. I mean, your foundation.
Right.
That's his base.
Right. They're crazy.
They're a bunch of crazies, and it's this mountain of crazy. And
right.
He's at the top.
And how do you fix that? You can't fix that. What you have to do, and remember,
you got to blow that freaking mountain up.
Well, let's assume you're stuck with that mountain. That's your mountain. You're responsible for that mountain, and you can't destroy that mountain. It's your mountain. That's it. But and you're right. It's full of crazy. So what do we do with this mountain? Well, we have to remember one thing. You have to remember one thing. That mountain is only maybe 1/3 of the rest of us. That's the key. So we have control of the mountain. Now what we have to do is make sure that we move it. How do we move the mountain? We all agree to push the mountain out. We vote to agree to eliminate those Republican senators and Congress people who are in there right now, back in this crazy house, all this madness, this mountain of bullshit and crazies.
But right now, I believe that, I agree with you, but I believe that, okay, and it's really interesting you said a third, because that's the conclusion, you know, that I've come up with based upon every time they show a poll, it comes to about a third of the electorate being his people, right?
Yeah.
And so you think of the other 2/3. So you have the other 2/3, of which a third is disenfranchised or not effective. So you have a third versus a third. So what you have to do is you also have to energize that inactive third, right? And you have to infiltrate their third. You have to start chipping away at the base.
I totally agree. But here's a problem I see, and right now the things that are occurring currently, not to be redundant, I reflected. Unfortunately, that non-participating third that you're discussing, these are voters who, through what they call their right to demonstrate by not doing nothing, sitting on their thumbs. Okay. And they're doing this because of causes that mostly are unrelated to our true America, our geographical continent, and who we are, period. They have to do with causes that are occurring elsewhere in the world. And those groups represent a lot of those factions, period. Yeah. And their hostilities over there are showing up over here.
Yeah.
And they're starting to do, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's my problem. I got a big problem with anybody who immigrates into this country who wants to bring all of their political bullshit that they're going and all their hate, whether it's religious based or otherwise, all their hate, they want to bring that over here and now make that our problem. You got to hate these people with me because and if you don't, I'm going to do this and that. And that's what they're doing. That flame throwing dumbass down in San Diego just yesterday firebombed these group of people who were having a Jewish demonstration, the Palestinian cause. That other guy who shot those two Jewish people, that young couple, free Palestine. Oh my God. Now, who are we talking about? We're talking about a group of people, and don't get me wrong, I'm not making any judgment who's right or wrong, because that goes back thousands of years, as we all know. But we have a group of people who hate another group of people who are sworn to kill them and wipe them off the face of the earth, period. That's the Palestinians. And we have another group, that people over here, the Israelis, the Jewish people, who are saying, hey, just leave us alone. But if you come to us, we're gonna come back at you. And now it's gotten to the point, because of this last October business that went on, where, okay, you want a dog war? We're going to wipe you off the face of the earth. We're going to kill every single one of you. We're going to starve you out. We're going to bomb the shit out of you. We're going to destroy your cities, everything you have, period. And that's what's happening right now. What's that got to do with America? What's that got to do with us? What's that got to do with my grandchildren? What's that got to do with my neighbors? What's that got to do with our political system? That hate, that, and I understand how it's come about. Believe me, I understand the history, and I don't want to get into the history. I'm just making a statement that I can't handle that being influencing our elections, our government, etc. And on that note, let's talk about that other 1/3 that sits out there.
But okay, so but to what you said though. Yeah, that doesn't negate. Okay, we do have these foreign terrorists that are involved in our political scene here.
Absolutely.
However, that doesn't negate the fact that white supremacists are still the number one hate group, and
that was where I was going.
And our White House is full of white supremacists.
That was the segue.
And the base of that mountain is being supported structurally by white supremacists.
Right.
So this diversion that we just had, these diversions that we're having by foreign intervention in our country, is a diversion. Because hold on, Dave. I won't interrupt you, and hopefully you won't do that. But the oh man, threw me off. I was going. That diversion is not as big as what's going on with the white supremacists, because they have all this power.
Right.
Okay. And they have power to even stop the Palestinian terrorists from coming over here doing that kind of shit. So I see that when these types of things happen, they get a lot of press. But when the white supremacists do what they do, they don't get that much press. And so we're going to see this in our face every day. They're going to use that as a reason to up the deportations. They're going to use it as a reason to up the bombing. And it's a white supremacist structure. But go ahead now, Dave.
That was my segue exactly. That's why I said let's talk about the next group, the Trumpers, the third group.
Yeah.
And that was exactly where I was going with what you said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's why I said it that way. And additionally, I agree with everything you've just said, except one thing. Okay, that is not a diversion set upon us by the Trumpers and by that third party. And you're talking about the Palestinian diversions. Okay, I get that. No, that is not them putting that. Trust this, they don't want them here.
Yeah.
That MAGA group does not want those Palestinians here in this country, right?
It's the media. It's the media.
No, that's where I also disagree with you. I think the white demonstrations, remember those assholes who did all that march with the, what do you call them? The stanchions, the
Nazis.
The Nazis were marching a couple years ago, right? They all get the coverage. The news sells the news.
Yeah.
And the more salacious, the better.
Mhm.
That's what the news is about. But I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned with how we look at our elections relative to these third party causes that have absolutely nothing to do with our democratic
Right.
government, with who we are as Americans. That's why I said that Palestinian Israeli conflict, that's what, a couple thousand years old,
Right.
that has nothing to do with us. That's hate and relations to religion and differences of opinion, and even within the, as you know, within the Muslim community, there's a faction, and they fight amongst each other. And it's like, wow, all behind religion. But that's not my issue. My issue is how can we now? And you're right about getting that third group, those who are sitting on their hands, and we got to bring them over. I think for the most part, a lot of them now are regretting sitting on their hands.
Well, let me oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Craig. Go ahead.
Let me ask you guys this. We're talking about that third part that set out. Okay. Well, now we have ICE running around, and we're hearing a good amount of Trump supporters. This contractor in Tallahassee who voted for Trump 3 times and just had ICE show up at his construction site, rounding up a number of Hispanic folks, saying, this is not what I voted for. That Trump said they were going to round up hoodlums, convicts, criminals, rape, all of that stuff, right? Not these people. And so as these ICE raids that we just saw in San Diego on Friday at a restaurant and made all the front page news. So all of these people that set out and saw the folks in San Diego take to the streets and stood up to ICE. And we're seeing other areas in our country standing up to ICE. So this third that wanted no involvement, I think will start coming out and saying, I need to do something. I need to get involved. And these more moderate Republicans who said, this is not what I voted for. I need to get involved. I think they will start coming around and saying, this is just wrong, because it is wrong. What is going on?
They already are. These town hall meetings reflect
right,
that.
good point.
All the hostility, the negativity, everybody's shutting up. The people who come to speak, yelling at
and the GOP just suggested they stop having the town halls because of what it's doing. It's riling people up, and they're having to listen to the people's voice. Period. That's what it is. They don't want to hear what the people have to say.
You brought up something about the media, which was interesting, about where the attention's focused through the media, how they selectively and perhaps socially, politically choose what to air and what not to air, what to hide, what to cover up, etc. For example, look at this big thing going on with P. Diddy, right? Now, don't get me wrong. P. Diddy, yes, he did. And because of that, whatever comes his way comes his way. I have no sympathy for the man, period. But Trump, he did a lot of the same kind of shit. He kicked his wife in the stomach, and she lost a child about this. This was his first wife, the one he buried in the golf course. And not to get to the side, but this is funny. I read somewhere that if you take property and you bury somebody on that property, that property now becomes exempt for taxation because it's now a cemetery plot. Now, asshole buried his wife on his golf course. Is that area, is that a tax exempt? I don't know the answer to that, but isn't that interesting? Now, here's P. Diddy, and the news, as you know, Marvin, they love salacious stuff. We want a good, nasty story. However it comes out. And P. Diddy's right there. But look at Trump, man. Now, what's he talking about? Trump's going, well, P. Diddy, maybe he's not treated fairly. I don't know yet. I got to find out first. I mean, you think he's going to pardon P. Diddy? Because you think maybe he and P. Diddy kind of hung out a little too much, a little bit there? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Because there's this one thing, and this is going down a whole different rabbit hole, but the whole P. Diddy thing may not even be related to the sexual part. What he did was really bad, but what he also did was he asked for, he went to the people wherever he gets his money and said, you guys ain't paying me enough. And every time an entertainer goes to the label and says that, they disappear. Prince did it. Michael Jackson had this dispute about the Beatles recordings that they wanted them back and he didn't want to sell them back. And then the next thing, he's dead and his mom sells them back. There's all kinds. When the black artists start, or artists period, start asking for their masters, and see Prince had control of his masters, but there was some other financial issues that he was trying to resolve. Michael Jackson, same thing. All of a sudden, his doctor can't do the medicine right. He's been doing it right all this time, and then now he can't. So there's all these different things, right? So that's a whole different rabbit hole. I think that it's another diversion. They don't want to release the Epstein tapes. So let's give them some other salacious. Let's give them some other salacious shit. Let's give them some other shit. We got P. Diddy. Let's focus on P. Diddy and his debauchery, right?
I totally agree.
So
Wow.
and so it's everything is connected in these small little ways, but they're connected, and it's all still about freaking money.
Yep.
That's all it's about.
Money and power. Money and power, man, because they equate each other.
Yeah.
It's always that, man. It's always that.
But Craig was talking about the people getting them to vote and stuff. I mean, the people that didn't vote, they're changed. I believe that you're correct, Craig, as far as people changing their minds and seeing that quote unquote error of their ways, right? Because you can't watch the demise of this great country and not notice it. You can't look at it and not see it.
Yeah,
it's freaking happening in front of our eyes. A place
in our
where
face.
Pardon me?
In our face.
In our face.
Finger, right in our face.
In our face. And they can't continue to sit back.
No.
And accept what's happening.
No.
There's no normalcy to our world right now. And it's every day, and he affecting the entire world.
That's right.
And he thinks it's funny.
He thinks he's getting this weird ass,
He gets a high off it. It's a power high. It's like, look at me. I can do what I want.
That restaurant in San Diego. Uh-oh. Did we lose Marvin?
See what happened? That's an example. Do anything I want. To you.
Uh-oh. We lost Marvin.
He didn't charge his phone.
Yikes. But like that, I was going to say that restaurant in San Diego.
Yeah.
I've eaten there. My daughter used to live in San Diego when she was going to college down there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've South Park. I know that area.
Hmm.
So Marvin is having some technical difficulties.
Yeah. Anyway, so now what? What are we gonna do, Craig?
I don't know, David. Oh, Mr. Wizard. How can he's bad? He's bad. We didn't know what to do, Marvin. We were lost.
Somebody tried to call me.
Oh.
Okay.
So it messed me up.
I thought it was more of that conspiracy.
I know.
Well, hey, but my phone is getting really hot. I don't know what that is. That's probably the conspiracy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
Well,
there we go.
Well, that's, before we went live, I was talking with David about the agreement contract, I guess I should say, that this administration signed with Palantir to this point of, all
Oh
of a sudden,
yeah.
right? $30 million contract. And it was first in regards to immigration and all of this. They wanted to attract immigrants and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? Well, now they've upped the ante for all of us. They're all government agencies. So they want to attract all of us, and essentially all of those that have contrary views to this.
Those are
Right.
exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy who's behind all of this is Peter Thiel. You just Google his name. He's one of the co-founders. Well, he came in later on into PayPal. I mean, just, not a friendly guy. So yeah, it's just more data on all of us. I mean, none of this is good stuff.
Well, they talk about wanting to help. He talks about, I'm not touching Social Security.
No, I'm just here to help you guys. I'm just here to help.
He just pardoned a guy who defrauded. He was a director of the Social Security. He defrauded Social Security. He was in prison for millions of dollars of fraud, and Trump ass just let him out.
Oh no, they showed all these people that Trump pardoned, right?
Yeah.
And they showed the amount of, they either had fines or restitution. And some of them were fines like 10 million, 30 million, right? And there was about 12 people on this list. The total of they don't have to pay this shit. The total was $100 million fucking dollars of fines and restitution.
How much of that do you think Trump got given to him from them?
Oh yeah, probably kickback. Yeah, I let you go. You're supposed to pay 10 million. Just give me 2. It's crazy, man. We're being wiped out
and sold out. We're being sold out. That's what we're really being. He's selling it out.
And the Republicans, and now it becomes laughable. Well, what about Hunter's laptop? What about Hunter's? Just take that laptop and shove it up your ass. Come on. It's laughable.
Everything is laughable. They got these Republican politicians coming out anti-gay and turn around and find out they're freaking gay.
Yes.
Okay, they got these Republican politicians coming out against messing with little boys. You find out they're molesters. They got their freaking phones are full of child pornography. They are not normal people.
No,
I don't get it. I'm like, well, is this some kind of mental affliction? I mean, is it something in the air? Is it in their water? Is it, is it genetic?
Yeah.
Is it something they pass down through their families? I don't, we make fun stereotypically.
But you're right, David. You're dead right, man. That if Jesus, you're right. That these Christians, these evangelicals, if Jesus walked into any one of their gatherings, any one of their rallies,
they kick him out.
That's right.
Kick him out.
Well, Jesus would walk in and say, "What is this?"
Well,
and you're right, Marvin. They would kick him out.
For one, he'd be brown skinned with curly hair.
They wouldn't recognize him.
That's right.
They'd kick his ass out just for that.
And they'd kick him out. ICE would arrest him, haul him away, and then they would deport him.
Yeah. Well, and this may sound extremely extreme, and I got, matter of fact, kicked off Facebook for 30 days for saying this.
Uh-oh.
And I haven't been on Facebook in like 8 years or some shit like that. But one of the things that I've noticed is, okay, and it's, you guys know this, that white people are only what, 7% of the entire world's population, right? Is
about
white.
That, yeah.
It's about 7%.
Yeah.
And they run the finances pretty much of the entire planet, right? And they have control of so many major resources and vast areas of the entire planet, right? I've always considered, not always, but I've come to the conclusion they're like a virus. White people are like a virus. Everywhere they go, shit dies. environments fucking die, fucking cultures die, entire fucking races of people die, the plants die, the ecology dies, the freaking air dies, everywhere white people go. Now, prove
So
me
what's
wrong.
your solution?
We got to educate them.
Okay.
Well, we got to talk to no, and it's and believe me, I don't mean all white. I don't mean all white people. Just because I mean, because there's been black fucking people committing genocide. Every ethnicity has done it, right? But not to this scale, because what's going on now is not just financial. I mean, physical genocide.
Yeah.
I believe it's financial genocide. I believe that people are being killed off
Cultural
in
genocide.
so many ways.
So let me ask you something. How would you educate them? What
That's a
would
good
you
question.
recommend would be a course outline?
Man, maybe some put some acid in the local water. I'm talking
You mean
about
LSD?
I'm talking about lysergic acid diethylamide,
LSD.
Yeah, I'm not talking about acid that'll kill them. I'm talking that acid maybe open up their brains. You know what I mean?
The mushrooms.
Because
Feed everybody mushrooms.
when you're born and ingrained with hate,
Yeah.
if you never get to go around the whatever it is that hates you, then you'll never know if your hate is justified, right?
Well, ironically, it's never justified. It's always ingrained, as you've already said. I've been just trying to discuss this issue for so many, I can't tell you how much.
Well, when I say hate in relation, when I say hate, Dave, I mean, like I could hate somebody that killed you. I could hate somebody that killed a family member.
But right? I know what you're talking about. You're talking your cultural hate. I get it. Yeah. And historically, that's how it goes down. The grandfather teaches the father and the son, and it continues generation to generation. We hate him, we hate him, we hate him.
But I believe that can be. I believe that can be changed, though.
I do too. I absolutely
reprogramming.
But how do you do that? Do you get them when they're infants and get them away from them people who are haters?
What I would think,
we need to round them all up and re-educate
them. You'd have to get them away from their environment and put them in the environment they're taught to hate.
So what you're saying is what we should do is all newborns in certain areas of hate-filled, can we call them MAGA people, just for identification?
Well, people just filled with hate for no reason.
People just filled with hate. We're going to take all your kids and we're going to round them up. We're going to send them to the school of get better.
Well, no, I think the ones that you need to actually re-educate, maybe like the elementary age, maybe from elementary to high school, that age, because they will spread the information to their friends. They're more social, right? And they'll spread the information to their friends, and then they'll grow up and have kids, and they won't teach their kids that hate. They'll stop it right there.
Well,
and they'll become voters.
When Americans decided after coming over here, or Americans, or who were they, colonizers, when they decided that the property that these Indians, these indigenous folks, these heathens were sitting on, they don't know what they're doing. They're ignorant. They need re-education.
Yeah.
So I think we should take all of these little Navajo kiddies and these Apache children and all of these other Choctaw or whoever, and let's round up all their kids and let's send them to the school of we're going to make them right. And boom, they've tried that experiment. That didn't work because some of those kids ain't going to go for it. What do we do with them hard-headed ones? Well, let's take them out back. That didn't work. But I get what you're saying, and I totally agree. There's re-education, but how do we do it? How do you do it? How do you convince Grandpa Redneck that for all of his life, what his grandpappy told him and his daddy told him was a bunch of hateful bullshit, and what he's been teaching his son and his grandson is a bunch of hateful bullshit?
Right.
How do you do that? And then that father too. You teach, how do you broach the subject when Ab and Isha at the beginning they feel justified in their beliefs, white supremacy, neo-Nazism. I mean, how do you turn that around?
Did I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I worked at FMC before they closed, I was like an apprentice. So I was in the maintenance department, and I would work with the carpenters, the electricians, and go out to jobs with them. But I was a fucking laborer, right? But anyway, I was learning their jobs. But
Yeah.
I had to work one time with this guy named Harry. I can't think of his last name, but he was a known staunch racist, and he looked exactly the stereotypical Trumpster. He was fat, pink face, sloppy guy, right? But I didn't have nothing against Harry, right? And me and Harry worked together for 2 weeks. And he told me, he goes, my mother, all my family was Kluxers. My grandfather was a Kluxer. He goes, he told me, but by the time we finished working together, I knew we had a different perception of Black people. I knew that because he had never worked. Nobody would work with him. I was the only one who would work with him that wasn't white. And so I went and worked with him for 2 weeks. And I can almost guarantee that he left there with a different perception.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Cool.
You think he voted for Trump?
Oh, he probably still did. I didn't change his voting. I mean, that was, and maybe 2 weeks later, he forgot about all our conversations. But the thing is, I think that certain types of, just like when you go in the military, you get indoctrinated. Mm-hmm. I think that, I think that certain types of deprogramming could affect some people.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're talking about diversity. These what is it? DEI, equity.
Well,
inclusion.
Yeah, but that's in the workplace and in
but that
school.
should be everywhere. I really believe.
What I'm talking about is to just having open dialogue with people who are not. Right. And so if you when you're working and at work, you don't really have that. No. People are still going to have this resentment. You know what I mean? They're going to go to work and they're going to think that, this Black person has a job because they're Black.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think that type of approach with those types of people will be very effective.
That's a good point.
But you see something ironically, because I've worked in the professions and around a lot of professional people, and doesn't matter what level of intelligence, what function they're at. Bigotry is bigotry, and you're right. They still feel the same way, and they still look at you the same way, even though you're playing in their field with the same credentials. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They look at you as being exactly what you said, a minority hire, or in this case nowadays, what is it, DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. But that's the problem, that we don't have that amount of diversity. And somebody working with you says, wow, I used to think that Black people were lazy and ignorant, and then they send me this guy who's certainly not ignorant and definitely not lazy. What the hell's going on? Yeah. You messed him up. So his perceptions of a Black person, you just totally threw to the trash.
Yeah.
Then he goes home, and what does Grandpappy say? He's still a Black man.
He's still a nigger.
There you go.
He's still a goddamn nigger.
Yep.
And I don't even want you talking about this positive experience in your life. Don't even bring it up again.
How do you deal with that? I think we got to let it die out. It might be a few more generations before we get some of these assholes totally out. But you're right. As long as we have people like Trump and MAGA, there's no hope. We need to get them out of office. Now, they're always going to be haters. Let's not lie to ourselves. Mm-hmm. There's always, no matter what, you can't satisfy everybody. And I get that. Not everybody's going to love me. Hell, even sometimes I don't love me. I do some shit. That's not the issue. The issue is, do I have a right to exist as long as I mind my own business? And the answer is hell
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But see, I don't. Your thought that it's going to die out in a couple of generations. I don't believe.
No, I
without-
said before it starts to straighten out. I don't think it'll die out. But you're right.
But no. But I don't even think. I believe that without active participation in trying to make that happen, it's not going to happen.
No, you're right.
Naturally, it won't.
But what is it? But what is it? See, that's what we've been talking about, the active participation, of course. But what is it? I keep asking that question. What would you do? What program? What curriculum? What subject? What would you? How would you educate them?
Well, I think like I've been kind of trying to allude to is just open dialogue.
And how do you get that?
You wherever you go.
Okay, but who are you talking to? Who's willing to listen to you?
Wherever you go.
See,
I mean, I've given examples of how I'm going into a post office. And
I got you.
I stand and talk to a redneck for 45 minutes. So that's what you do.
But you're right, and that's one-on-one in a billion.
Guys, if I may, I think one-on-one is great, but that's kind of like taking a pea shooter to like OK Corral. That's just, I don't think that's going to work out. That I think like with this administration trying to kill woke, let's just keep everybody stupid. If this is going to really take effect and have equality, that we're all equal, there's going to have to be a countermeasure at some point. When Trump came in after President Obama, they wanted to we want to do away with all this blackness. We want to get rid of all this. So who better but a white racist and all of this stuff. So there's going to have to be a counterbalance that all of this, what is going on right now, is wrong. Straight up wrong. And I think like we're saying, through education, the young, that your grandpappy and all this other stuff, there is nothing right about racism, bigotry, through education, like the story that you were sharing, Marvin, all of this grassroots, and through education. I've learned a lot through David, education, patience, teaching those that, first of all, there has to be receptivity, but there has to be some grassroots throughout the whole country.
Well, you know something, Craig?
Yeah.
If I may comment.
Go ahead.
Who is going to do that, and who is best suited to do it? It's not Marvin. It's not me. They're going to listen to a Mexican and a black man. That's the problem. It's you. It's the white people in America who have to stand up and start saying, this is wrong. Even though I'm white, I'm not superior. And until they start doing that shit, it ain't going to change. And that's what Marvin's been talking about.
Okay. And to that point,
superior attitude that no matter what, I'm white.
To that point, on the platforms I have been on, like, okay, I'm one guy, right? On TikTok, Instagram, other platforms, I've done my videos to that very point.
Yes, you do.
And I've and again, I'm one guy. My YouTube channel, it's bigger. So I've done my outreach of equality and everything that I can do, and thankfully they've been reposted, so I don't know who all gets out there. But I'm thinking of the Oval Office, that so when I see things like this, a supersized, that it has to go beyond me. Let's say, I don't really see myself as a creator, but it has to be like these really big ass creators that have really, really big followings, that they get bigger and bigger and bigger, that just touch everybody across the country. And eventually a president of our country that makes sense, and just the whole outreach, I mean, across our country, that everybody buys into it, that we are equal. And like you're saying, a white guy, and I hate even saying that, but I mean, to your point, a white person, man, woman, whatever, but the whole country just buys into it, that We are equal. I didn't pick.
I hear you, man, and I feel you absolutely. But unfortunately,
Ah!
the minorities in this country, we've never looked at ourselves but anything but Americans and equal. So it's never been a position of doubt on our end, and it's never been a position that we've been capable of pursuing and actually having that power of equality. We don't, because unfortunately, as Marvin already so adequately said, the small amount of 7% own everything and control it politically. So it is incumbent, and it unfortunately does fall on the shoulders of the majority of our Anglo-Saxon community to stop it, to say this is wrong. This is my brother. I don't care where he's from or what his last name is, period, and stop it. And,
Right.
until that happens, the consciousness won't change, and that's what Marvin's been talking about. And I totally agree with that.
But one thing, okay, so earlier, you guys, you guys both agreed that one-on-ones won't be that effective.
No, we say it is.
No, I think it is. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course I do.
I do the same thing, Marvin.
And see, I think that
I do.
Okay, because I think that to Craig, what Craig said about his podcast and whatnot, I mean his post on Instagram. Like so one thing I learned at Home Depot.
I still work it every which way, man. Every which way.
Well, I learned at Home Depot, they taught us in this training that if you piss off one customer, they lose 100. So I it's always my thing, like maybe like when I talked to Harry, maybe those conversations I had with Harry, he went back and told somebody else and they had positive feelings. So I think that exponentially, if we talk enough and if we keep doing these podcasts, see, a war doesn't get won on one front. There's so many fronts that we have to fight this war on. And one could be media wise, one could be human interaction wise. We have to attack white supremacy at its core, and we have to destroy that base. And the way we do it is we chisel away at all the different fronts that we've assigned to this battle.
Absolutely, and I totally 100%. Agree with you. Yeah,
100%.
But I also
wherever you can,
reiterate that again. It's incumbent upon our white brothers, our Anglo community, to back this effort, because without that, it's not going to happen. Straight out.
Right.
You and I in our races, Marvin, we've been hollering at the moon for years.
Well, no, I don't think getting white folks involved is going to be a problem, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, I don't either.
I've been out on those marches, and they're almost all white.
Absolutely.
So I don't think we're going to have a problem. There's so many white people that are anti this bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That everybody I talk to.
But what we got to do is, like we talked about earlier, is to get those white folks that didn't vote to now start voting.
That's right. That 1/3. That's like you say, that 1/3. Absolutely right. Bring it back to the
yeah. But I think that we have to also approach with the love that we already have in our hearts for our fellow man, right?
That's right.
But also, so with honesty, and honesty will beat lies all day long.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
You approach it with honesty and sincerity, and don't be afraid to engage your freaking neighbor that's a Trumpster, and it don't even have to be where you're talking about Trump. You talk about something totally different.
Well, you know what's interesting? Good point, because I often find that if I find a common on a neutral plane first that we can discuss as just
right,
and from that point
you ease into that.
A lot of discussions.
Yes,
absolutely right. I do that all the time.
Yeah,
I think it's important that you do talk to as many people as possible. That's an old adage about even sales. Talk to as many people as possible every day. Tell them what you do. And sooner or later, it's like knocking on doors. You're going to find the right door will open up and will be receptive to your conversation, and boom, it goes from there. And it does spiral, and it does start to make other people pay attention, and that's the whole point of it. So if
So
we do anything out there, if anybody's listening, if we've changed any of your opinions to a positive, awesome. If we haven't, you need to pay attention better.
and also if we have affected, and you're just riding the fence still, and you don't know what side to get off on, think about your grandkids. Think about what kind of world you want to leave your heirs. Think about the environment. Think about the planet that you want to leave your heirs. Think about everything that you've touched and everything that you've enjoyed. And don't forget that supremacy and white privilege is a way to keep people divided. If you're currently enjoying white privilege, share some with me. But understand that all of the people in this country deserve what you get, and you just take for granted.
And I'm going to say something. I don't want to drag this conversation out because we're running out of time, but I want to make this one comment. It's not just white people that hate and are prejudiced and bigoted. I was teaching a class, an acting class, okay, with kids between the ages of like 11 and 15. It was a group, and they were mixed. Kids had some money. They come from parents who could afford to do this. And this wasn't not too long ago, just a couple of years back. And I had these two students, a young Chinese girl and a black student, a boy, and they were working on something. And after they did it, I said, okay, I go, don't you think at this point you should go up and you should touch him? Yeah, I said, it says right there in the script, you put your hand on his shoulder, and she says, I can't touch him, the Chinese girl. And I said, well, why not? She says, my parents don't want me to touch black people. And this is like maybe about 6 years ago, okay? And I go, why? She goes, I'm not sure, but I'm not supposed to. I said, oh, well, that's all wrong. Come on over here. And of course, you know me, Marvin. At first, I start with shake hands. All right. Now, I want you to give a brother a shake. And I was messing around her hands. I said, okay, now touch her shoulder. And, I got him, And I said, if your parents have a problem with this, please have them call me, and I'll be happy to discuss it with them. Of course, I didn't hear it from anybody. I knew I wouldn't, right? The owners of the school, they are Chinese, okay? The owners of the school. And they were glad I did that. Yeah. They were so happy with it because they taped all the sessions. There was a camera always watching me. I knew I was always on the camera, right? Because I'm dealing with kids, right? And so they want to keep control over it, which I appreciated. But they came after the class and they said, I was so glad you did that. That was so right. Because we have to get past that. That's right. There's this weird fear. I don't understand it, but that's for another subject. How we develop prejudices and stereotypes, and how they foster in us and develop all this, anxiety over nothing. But we'll talk about that another day. As we're coming around the corner here, Marvin, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, man. So we're almost done. I just want to let you guys know, with the rest of my day, I'm gonna go watch my succulents grow. What do you guys got going on?
I can't top that. I can't.
I don't want to top that.
They're on the patio.
Okay, succulents are on the patio. On that note, hey, have a beautiful Monday.
Everyone have a good day,
you folks, and happy May.
Peace.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.
Take care.
Baby, you're my everything. I love you more than these material things. Fast cars and them diamond bling.